Bates?
Here, and Mayor, I apologize for not being there in person. Both my wife and I have COVID, and we're recovering nicely, but didn't want to expose everybody, so thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, thank you.
Councilmember Turco?
Here.
Councilmember Nafolda?
Here.
Okay, can you please stand with me, and Mayor Pro Tem will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and followed by the invocation by Councilmember Bates.
Right hand over your heart, ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Bates?
Dear Lord, you bet. Dear Lord, please bless all the families of over the 1 million people in our country that have died of COVID. We understand their losses for many of us who've been connected with people who have passed on. We ask your blessing on those families and on the people that have passed on, and that you will help all those that remain and have been afflicted with this major illness, that they recover and are able to spend time with their family. We also ask that you bless this council and the decisions it makes on behalf of the community. For these things we ask in your name. Amen.
Thank you. And Council, can you come join me for some presentations?
Yes.
Okay.
Just for you to present them easier.
Okay. Want to hold those for me? And this one too. Not my script though. All right, we have some really cool presentations tonight. And the first one, I would like to bring forward a beautiful lady sitting right here on the front row, Nancy Fagan, who has just celebrated her 101st birthday. So are you able to come on up? Can you come on and stand by us?
Yes, she can.
Take out those brakes, okay? You come right over here. There you go. So I'm going to read this because I don't want to miss a word of this. So the Los Alamitos Senior Club Board celebrated longtime resident Nancy Fagan's 101st birthday on Thursday, April 28, 2022. The Ready, Set, Go preschool program participants made a special visit and surprised Nancy by singing happy birthday, much to Nancy's surprise and delight. Nancy was born in Des Moines, Iowa on April 29, 1921, to Truman and Hazel Forrest. Nancy had 5 siblings: Elmer, Dale, Lou, Leroy, and Helen. The family built their home from the foundation up and enjoyed many years and memories there. Nancy moved to California on September 15, 1946 with her husband. They had 5 children. Boy, you guys populate the world, don't you? Janice Lee, James Robert, Julie Lynn, Jerry Richard, and Jane Lorraine. After her husband passed, she remarried to Elmer and were happily married for 46 years before his passing. Elmer and Nancy lived in Lakewood, California for 56 years and later moved to Royal Oak Mobile Home Park right next door here in Los Alamitos. Nancy's sister is Helen Dix, a current member of the senior club. Her brothers and son, James Robert, have since passed. Nancy has 8 beautiful grandchildren and great-grandchildren. She's a member of the Order of the Eastern Star, past matron 60 years, past Queen's Daughter Merit of the Neal, and Los Alamitos Senior Club since 2006. You've been busy. Very nice. Well, we are so happy that you're here.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. I was amazed. I don't understand, I guess. But I might have to mention that I did name all my children with a J. Well, I'm also getting John, Joe, John again, and different ones of the grand Jamie, I got them all in J's.
Well, we're just glad that you're here, and we're glad that we get to acknowledge your 101st birthday. And so we'd like to take a quick picture.
In the ladies' social day over here on Thursday. Whether I win or lose on bingo, I like to play. And I just came back from Sacramento, and my son-in-law took me up there to play bingo too. So everybody's in my support, I guess, and I do appreciate it. I really do appreciate all of you being here, and my family and my adopted family I have. Can I mention them?
Of course you can. The night's yours.
Okay, we've got Edie Miller, my daughter Jane, my granddaughter Dana, my dear friend Jerry, my daughter-in-law Debbie, my Jerry, and my daughter Jan.
Very good. So if you,
There's 32 of them.
wow. So if you give us one piece of advice to us youngsters on how to live a long life.
Well, you'll all laugh when I tell you I owe my longevity to eating barrels and tubs of tomatoes. No matter how they fix them, I love them. I eat them with anything and everything.
All right, so stop by the produce store and pick up some tomatoes if you want to live to be 101. Well, if you can pose for a couple of pictures, we want to be by this VIP here. We'd love to picture, and then we'd like to bring your friends and family up for a picture as well. Okay? So you just stand there and be pretty. You don't have to do anything.
Can I stand and move this thing around?
However you would like.
Don't need this.
You want to sit?
No.
You stand. Okay. There you go.
When I go to the store, if I go in the store, my daughters and my granddaughter always shop for me. And if I do go in the store and I get a little bit tired, cement doesn't like my back too well. And I pull up my chair and I sit down in the aisle at the grocery store. And I enjoy it. I love to watch people.
Perfect. Well, honey, if you want to come to all of our council meetings, you've added an entertainment to this. We could use this every month. Trust me. All right, and if I could get friends and family. I know you guys are all blushing. Come on. No, all the front row should be up here.
Good boy, why don't you get in behind me, honey?
She's staging us. If you haven't realized, Nancy's in charge.
The oldest, the youngest, the other, the middle.
Thank you so much. And Nancy, our next meeting is June 6th. We'll save you a seat right there, and I'll give you a microphone. How's that? Our next presentation is to Lee Elementary's 5th grade team in recognition of receiving the California Parks and Recreation Society Volunteer Merit Award. And this is something that during COVID, every 5th grader looks forward to outdoor science camp. Every 5th grade parent looks forward to outdoor science camp. I know I did for 2 years, but because of COVID, they weren't able to do that. So the principal over at Lee and some of the teachers contacted our Park and Rec, and they got their creative juices on, and they created a quasi-outdoor science camp at Little Cottonwood Park. It wasn't exactly like going up in the mountains, but it was pretty darn close. So I'll read a little bit of what they did. They hosted activities during the school day and 4 nighttime activities. During the day on campus, students participated in team building activities led by the 5th grade teachers, crafts, and physical team competitions. In the evening, the Los Alamitos Recreation and Community Services staff led student teams through a rotation of stations, including rock wall climbing, physical fitness obstacle course, trivia, and an Arbor Day activity in partnership with the Rossmore Community Services District at the 2-day scavenger hunt nights at Rossmore Park. The Parkapalooza evening event took place at Little Cottonwood Park and included astronomy, s'mores, team competitions, magic, and snow play. I want to go to that. The week closed out with a drive-in movie night for 5th graders at Little Cottonwood Park. At each evening event, the 5th grade teacher team and principal Amy Vento volunteered many hours to support and be present for the students and ensure a memorable week of experiences for the 5th graders promoting during COVID-19. The 5th grade Lee Elementary teacher team and Principal Vento were innovative and determined to create safe and fun experiences the students would not forget and not miss out on despite the challenges of a global pandemic. The students, families, and communities are grateful for such a caring and creative and outstanding group of 5th grade teachers and their principal. And we'd like to just recognize you on getting this award. It was thinking outside the box. The kids had a great time. I heard nothing but, and I hear other schools want to do it too. And Lee did it first, so that's great. So I'd like to invite anybody from Lee and then also our Park and Rec Department. Commissioners, thank you. Come on in, come on in. And thank you for giving our kids. Thank you. Perfect. That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, because our kids really missed out on a lot in the last couple of years. So this was very, very nice and creative for them to be able to do this. This is a cool one. So tonight, we're going to be recognizing some of our Los Alamitos staff members in the Park and Rec Department that are graduating from high school and college. We have 14 graduating from high school, 12 graduating from high school and 2 graduating from college. All of the high school graduates will be attending college in the fall, and all of them plan to continue their employment with the city, whether it be year-round or seasonal. So I'm going to go ahead and call them up. I'm fading on. Okay. Is that working? Okay. Let's see. First, and I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher these names, Ryan Catabog, graduating from Long Beach State. He's getting his Bachelor of Arts in Recreation and Leisure Studies with an emphasis in recreation therapy. I like that. Amber Gutierrez. Amber's graduating from Cal State Long Beach, again with the Bachelor of Arts in Recreation and Leisure Studies with an emphasis in recreation therapy. Next, we have Brian Hurley. Brian's graduated from Millikan High School. We won't hold that against you. And And you will be attending San Diego State, majoring in business administration with an emphasis in real estate. We have Garrett Webb. Garrett's graduating from Los Alamitos High School, go Griffins, and he'll be attending the University of Montana, majoring in forestry. We have Jack Lyons. He's also graduating from Los Alamitos High School and will be attending UCLA. Majoring in pre-business economics. We have Juelia Miranda. She's graduating from Los Alamitos High School and will be attending Orange Coast Community College. Next, we have Joseph Eshianadia. Oh, I butchered that bad. I added another syllable on that one name, I know I did. He's graduating from Ernest McBride High School and will be attending Long Beach City College, majoring in business administration. We have Miranda Rojas. Miranda's graduating from Los Alamitos High School and will be attending Long Beach City College, majoring in film and design. We have Scott Clark. Scott will be attending Long Beach City College, majoring in business administration with an emphasis in real estate. We have Zach Dixon. Graduating from some high school in Long Beach called Milliken. He'll be attending Cal State Long Beach. We have Sean Clark. Yeah, another Milliken guy, but he looks all right. Sean will be attending Long Beach City College and majoring in social services. We have Jessica Lucido. Yes. Jessica's graduating from Cypress High School and will be attending Cypress College. We have Sean Bilek. Sean is graduating from Los Alamitos High School and will be attending Cal State Long Beach, majoring in computer information systems. Whoa. And we have Dustin Montrone. Another Milliken kid. He will be attending Long Beach City College and majoring in business administration. So this group of young people, even the ones from Long Beach, we're very proud to have them start their careers in our city. And hope you have some great memories and hope you guys come back and live here and work here and play here just like the rest of us. And congratulations and good luck to everything you guys are going to be doing. Thank you, guys. So our next presentation is the proclamation of Public Works. Let's see, it's National Public Works Week. And we'd like to recognize our public works staff in honor of this week. National Public Works Week is a celebration of the tens of thousands of men and women who provide and maintain the infrastructure and services collectively known as public works. This year, 2022, marks the 62nd annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, emergency management, and services that are vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities in the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the Los Alamitos people. These infrastructures, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals, who are also federally mandated first responders. The quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, is vitally dependent upon the efforts and skill of public works officials, engineers, managers, contractors, and workers at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste system, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essentials for our citizens. So basically, they do everything without the people. So this week, we would like to proclaim May 15th to May 21st as National Public Works Week throughout the city of Los Alamitos. Do we have our public works guy? Anybody in a beige shirt? So these are also the creative guys that decorated our center mediums during the holidays, during the fall. They took it upon themselves, and they did a wonderful, wonderful job of just creating that small town festive season. So we thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, and finally, we're going to be recognizing National Police Week 2022, and I'd like to bring up Officer Krogman. Sergeant Krogman. I am so sorry. That's okay. Got to get the rank right. Oh, look at all these guys.
Hello, how are you? Good to see you. Hello.
Oh, just as shy as ever.
Hey, I'm a very demure potato. I know.
All right, so I'll read this real quick. To recognize National Police Week 2022 and to honor the service and sacrifice of the law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty while protecting our communities and safeguarding our democracy. There are more than 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the city of Los Alamitos. Since the first recorded death in 1786, more than 23,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and have been killed in the line of duty. These names of the dedicated public servants are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. The service and sacrifice of all officers killed in the line of duty will be honored during the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund's 34th Candlelight Vigil on the evening of May 13th. It just happened. The Candlelight Vigil is part of National Police Week, which will be observed this year from May 11th to May 17th. May 15th is designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of all fallen officers and their families, and U.S. flags should be flown at half-staff. We hereby proclaim that the week of May 11th through May 17th as National Police Week in the city of Los Alamitos, and publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community and in communities across the nation. And I got to tell you, it's not real popular to be a police officer over the past couple of years, and you guys have just stepped up. You are the reason that people moved to Los Alamitos. It's safe. We know our officers. They're engaged in our community. They're at the events. They know you by name, and you just do a phenomenal job. And any stereotype that's out there about police officers, you guys don't fit that at all. And we thank you very much for just what you do above and beyond every day that you come to work. We thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, we should have brought a picture of Ron. Is this yours? Okay. I was like, hey, I'm getting stuff. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you. Congrats.
Jeff, if we can add a 6th member, I got a candidate. Yeah. Okay, everybody here? Okay, now we're going to be moving on to oral communications. At this time, any individual in the audience may come forward to speak on any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Remarks are to be limited to not more than 5 minutes per speaker. Have any public comments? Well, that's easy. Okay, we'll bring it.
For the
sorry.
record, we do have the availability to participate online, and we do not have anyone currently participating.
Thank you, I forgot about that, thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to council announcements, and Councilmember Bates, I'll let you go first.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple things. First, maybe just for our cable monitors and that, I'm not sure that the council meeting is coming through on either Channel 3 or over the internet, so maybe if we get a chance, we can check that. But some good news for all those people that participate in library programs. We're having a program with our sister library in Seal Beach. It's called Enjoy a Spring Morning with Other Local Seniors, and that's scheduled for Tuesday, May the 24th from 10 to 11:30. So if anybody has any questions, they can call the Seal Beach branch of the library. Second, just to talk a little bit about all the things that are going on in with the Orange County Sanitation District. Of course, one of their biggest projects is the one in Los Alamitos, Seal Beach, and Rossmore, the main line along Catella and Los Alamitos Boulevard. That project is moving along on schedule. There are some other larger projects in Anaheim, Buena Park, Westminster, and Fountain Valley. Orange County Sanitation District is beginning a 5-year rate study to adjust their rates potentially to fully recover all the costs that are involved. They're also hosting, and this might be good for our local business members who might be able to provide services to the Orange County Sanitation District, but they're holding a workshop to engage local businesses throughout the county, and they can find more information on that on orangecountyspan.gov, and that information about the workshop to engage local businesses is available there. The last thing I'd like to report on is the meeting with the Revenue and Taxation Policy Committee of the League of California Cities. One of the main issues there is still the fair allocation of sales tax based on the current system. We had a real good discussion. City managers have formed a group that's studying and looking at it. I would only say they're looking at it again for, I don't know, about the 3rd or 4th time. I think they're doing good work. We'll look forward to seeing what comes out of there. I'm just not real optimistic that they can convince some of their elected officials that in fact they should go along with the reasonable settlement. So this may be something that we need to get behind in terms of legislation and push some fair legislation if we're not able to get legislation that's pushed forward by the league, which is fair to all the cities. So that does it, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Churko.
Sure. In the last month, I attended the Parklet series, including the Party on Pine and Sidewalk Saturday a couple of times. As usual, city staff did a wonderful job. And, you know, I saw a fair number of people when I was there. I think the more events that we have on Pine, I think we'll get more and more residents and people from nearby communities attending as well. So I think it's great, you know, reimagining Pine Street as our main street, and I encourage everyone in the community to attend some of the events this summer, including movies and some other events as well. Attended the budget meeting with Mayor Hasselbrink, where we talked about the budget for 2022 and 2023 and the following year, which we'll be talking about a bit tonight. I'm trying to participate in the city staff's Biggest Loser Challenge, although I'm not doing as well as I should be. I attended one workout class, and then I've got to get back on the wagon for that. Otherwise, I had a lot of travel for work. But that's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Nick Fulda.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to add on to the Parklet series. I attended a couple of the concerts and the farmers markets, and I just want to encourage you. I like it. Anytime I don't have to leave the city, if I can do stuff like this, especially with the kids, I think it's a good thing. I noticed that, especially it seemed like this last farmers market, the day that the attendance was a little bit down, but just want to encourage you guys to keep going. I like it. I try to spread the word as much as possible, and I think it's important, you know, for the development of our city. So, good job.
Thank you. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Dobie.
All right. I did my regular standing meetings, the HR committee meeting and the Orange County Mosquito and Vector Controls District meetings. And I guess the biggest takeaway that I can tell y'all are the Aedes mosquitoes are year-round. They don't go away. They don't die, they multiply. So please just be mindful of standing water, because they can exist in the amount of water that collects on the top of a cup. Toss it all. Okay, I went to Spring Carnival, which was a wonderful event. We had some amazing vendors, and I think we were all there because Emmeline made me jump out of a face painting line so that we could all take a picture together. My 9-year-old was not pleased, but Rob Acosta made up for it, so it was okay. But it was wonderful. There were so many people there, and it always makes me so happy to see our community out and enjoying one another. I am also partaking in the Biggest Loser, mostly because I was promised I could take another picture. So I will be gathering my life, and then there will be another beautiful picture up out front. I went to the Arbor Day celebration where they planted, I believe it was 3 or 4 trees, but they were like machines. They moved so quickly. If I would have looked away, I would have missed it. Our Public Works Department is outstanding. All the people that you saw, that's it. Everything that you see done in the city is with those very few number of people. So if you ever see just one person working on a pothole, that's because somebody else is working on another one, somebody else is watering the lawn, somebody else is working on the median, somebody else is trying to, they're amazing. And I would just really, they're not here anymore, but I'm sure that it will spread to them. I am in awe of that small but mighty machine. The last thing, no, second to last, I went to the Casa Youth Tropical Nights fundraiser. They know how to throw a party. That was such a good time. I did not dress accordingly, but you know what? Somebody had to look like the captain, and it was me. And the last thing I did was I went to one Thursday for the Parklet series, and I went to a Saturday. And just the amount of effort and the people that were out there. There were not a lot of people, but I think it takes us a second to kind of realize it's safe, it's fun, come on out. There's good things out there. I interacted with some of our vendors that were there, and they were just happy to be included, to be invited. So I think that we're really onto something, and I'm excited for the next time that we have our parklets going. So shout out Miss Alicia, because I know that was her baby. And that's it.
All right. With mine, I went to a lot of the same things, the Parklet series, just to kind of follow on with that. The Thursday nights were just a blast. You saw the people up there dancing, bringing their food, bringing their dogs. It's exactly what we imagined it would be, and hopefully it's going to turn into a tradition. Because everybody starts small and it grows, and I know every week more and more people were coming and interested in it as well. I'm also participating in the Biggest Loser Challenge. I will not be the biggest loser. And we put Churco on the team because they're already stacked anyway with the chief. So that kind of balances that out, right?
Thanks.
So
Really appreciate that.
no problem. So anyway, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of team building and everything, and we have a good time as usual. I did attend a mayor's prayer breakfast in La Habra last week. Jackie Slater from the Rams spoke. It was a great breakfast. The bad part, it started at 6:30 in the morning, and nobody should have breakfast at 6:30 in the morning. But it was definitely worth the time. I also attended Supervisor Katrina Foley. Even though she's not our supervisor anymore, she still very much represents us and includes us in any information that she has. And she did a whole meeting on the sober living homes and how Costa Mesa and Newport Beach have been able to start tracking the small 6 and under bed sober living homes while keeping in line with the law from the state mandate. Some really good ideas on how to manage that a little bit better. I met with we had the Los Alamitos Community Foundation meeting. We finalized the social media, the website. Each of the departments, we have their final wish lists of what they would like to do, and there's some really cool stuff. And then we also started talking preliminary about fundraising ideas. Did attend the Casa Youth Shelter with my other colleagues here. That was a great night, lots and lots of fun, and they raised a lot of money. There's some very, very generous donors that donated 1 trip and then ended up giving 3 because we had 3 high bidders or tickets and donating more tickets. And so it's such a great cause. They had some of the kids come up and speak, some former residents, and just talked about this was kind of their last hope of feeling included and feeling a part. And they just do wonderful work over there. And then also regarding OCFA, as part of the Budget and Finance Standing Committee, last week we approved the upcoming budget. That'll be hopefully passed by the board this next week. I am very happy to announce that we are 92.7% paid off on our unfunded liability, which is huge. With that, it was a savings of over $41 million because they implemented the snowball plan where basically they take any surplus and 50% of it goes to CIP and the other 50% goes towards paying off the unfunded liability. So we should have that paid off completely in a few years, which is great. And I think that's it. So off to the city manager.
Nothing from me at this moment.
That's it?
I try to be short and sweet. In and out.
Emlyn, do we have a Parklet series coming up in June?
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. We do have the Memorial Care Miller Children's and Women's Hospital Summer Concert Series starting on Pine Street. We have 4 consecutive weeks, June 16th, June 23rd, June 30th, and then July 14th. Then we move over to the Summer Concert Series in the park and start at Little Cottonwood Park and then alternate to Orville Lewis Park. So July 21st, Little Cottonwood Park, Orville Lewis, July 28th. August 4th, Little Cottonwood Park, and August 11th at Orville Lewis. And you can find all of the band information on our city's website at cityoflosalamitos.org. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, we'll move over to warrants. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Madam Mayor, a couple questions. First, on page 1, can we get a little explanation from the city manager on that? It's $105,000 to the city of Cypress. I think I know what it's for, but with that large of an expenditure, it might be worth the city manager spending a couple minutes to explain it.
Of course, sir. Actually, so that is the amount of money that the city pays for its partnership along with the City of Cypress, Los Alamitos, and Seal Beach for Westcom, who handles all of our dispatch. And so this is the quarterly payment that we make, and it also, I'll say just in general, that the collaboration between these three cities have actually generated a fairly significant cost savings for each of the cities going forward. I think it shows that this is a model that can work and has worked in the past, and one that we hope to continue into the future.
Sounds great. Thank you. On page 6, in about the middle there, it's American Rescue, and then it says about a $15,000 charge. I wonder if you could give us a little more detail on that expenditure.
Of course, sir. And I think you're referring also to the description that we have here, which says invalid department. You are correct. This is money that came out of the American Rescue Plan. The reason why it says invalid department is because we actually don't assign this money to a department. We kept it separate so that we could track it and make sure that we knew all the expenses that were coming in and out of our ARPA expense count. And this is so that in the event that if we are audited later, we can make sure that we have all this information in one place.
But City Manager, we will be able to change that information there to be a little more explicit in the future.
Exactly. We've actually have made that change, and you won't be seeing that description going forward.
Thank you. I'm good, Mayor.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second, roll call vote, please.
Okay. Mayor Hasselbrink,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Doby,
Yes.
Councilmember Bates,
Yes.
Councilmember Churko,
Yes.
Councilmember Nafolda.
Yes.
All right, and now we're on to consent calendar. All consent calendar items may be acted upon by one motion unless a council member requests separate action on a specific item. And please note that item 10E will not be part of this meeting, the special meeting. It'll be part of the regular meeting after we adjourn this one. So does anybody have any items to pull?
I'll pull 10H briefly.
Okay.
I'll pull G, Madam Chair.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, let's just go in order. Ron, we have 10G, the resolution for
Yes.
approving the SB1 funds.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I just had a question on G, and again, maybe Mr. Noda or the city manager can comment. It wasn't clear that, in my mind, and looking at it, that we were going to go through a standard bidding process on this item, and I just wanted to verify that that, in fact, would happen.
Good evening, Council. Councilmember Bates, this project is a Seal Beach project, so we wouldn't be going out to bid. Seal Beach went out to bid on this project.
Okay.
The item is a cooperative agreement because of the light synchronization. They're putting hardware on a light. Oh, that's H?
You're
I'm
right.
sorry.
This is actually the approving the project list for SB1 funds
Okay,
this fiscal year.
I apologize. So yes, sir, we will go out to bid on this.
Okay, so it will be handled as a standard public works contract, going out to bid, evaluating the bids, and then coming back to us with the award of bid.
That is correct, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, and then item H, Councilmember Churko, the Seal Beach traffic light synchronization.
Sure, this is probably for directed note as well. I know I've mentioned this traffic signal to you in the past, and you know, it's always worked well for folks coming into or out of the Highlands until recently when the sanitation district started doing their work and the signal just stopped working altogether. I guess my concern is if we give control of this light to Seal Beach, you know, my concern would be that, you know, it doesn't quickly change to allow people to come into the neighborhood or come out of the neighborhood and make a left onto Seal Beach Boulevard. I see we can cancel this cooperative agreement on 30 days notice, I think it was. But how do we ensure that we keep the same sort of patterns? And I guess I'm also curious how it was done before, or how how the timing was sort of figured out before.
So we have the city obtains a traffic engineer. And so the traffic engineer goes out there and sets and monitors the light for each, signal that we have in the city. And, when we have a light synchronization project, it's actually makes it easier because now it's funneled through a computer. So you can sit at the computer and analyze it. A lot of times you have to do what the old school, you have to actually go out there and sit out there and monitor it there. But this one will actually help us sync that light. But there is a clause in the contract, the co-op agreement, that because it is a light that is in the jurisdiction of Los Alamitos, we get final say on what goes on at that light.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I also had a question similar to Councilman Cherko. My question is that I would certainly hope that our traffic engineer can participate actively with the Seal Beach traffic engineers to make sure this works not only to their advantage, but also to Los Alamitos' advantage. Because similar to Councilmember Churko, my concern is that if they're trying to make sure all their residents from Seal Beach have great access immediately to the shopping center and all that, I'm worried that they're going to back residents up on Los Alamitos Boulevard all the way to Catella, trying to wait to get through the signal to get to the shopping center. So I guess I do have some concerns with I'm sure at least one or more of the council members. And I guess I think that we need to be very careful and monitor this coordination very carefully, so that we're not, shall we say, left in the dark or left with traffic backed up into Los Alamitos or not being able to get out of Los Alamitos. So those are my comments, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, can I get a motion?
I'll move the consent calendar.
All right. Second?
I'll second.
Second. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Hasselbrink,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Doby,
Yes.
Councilmember Bates,
Yes.
Councilmember Turco,
Yes.
Councilmember Nofolda.
Yes.
Okay, and with that, we're going to recess the special meeting. Is that-
We'll do item 12A, the discussion item,
Oh,
as
I'm
part of the
sorry.
special meeting.
That's right, I'm sorry, okay. Sorry, I jumped the gun on that one. Let's go to 12A. Preliminary budget fiscal year 2022-23 and fiscal year 2023-24.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And so just for the council and members of the public, this will be the first review of the preliminary budget for fiscal year 22-23. This is the first time that the council will get to see the budget, the preliminary budget altogether. And I'll remind everyone that there's a follow-on step to this budget presentation, which will be the adoption in the event that the council is agreeable to what is actually in it. So at that point, we'll be able to do the full presentation from the different departments, be able to break down the different divisions, and also some of the goals that that the different departments have for the upcoming year. This presentation tonight is to get comfortable with, I'll call it the bones of the budget, and then also to be able to allow the council to provide any additional input about things that we might want to also include within the final budget package that we'll bring back to you for approval at a later date. And with that, I'll turn it over to the finance director.
There you go.
partial screen. Oh, there we go. All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council and staff. Thank you, City Manager. Tonight we'll be reviewing and discussing the preliminary general fund budget for fiscal year 22-23 and 23-24. Before we dig into the numbers, I wanted to provide some background on the economics and where the economy has been, where it is currently, and where we think it's heading. This data in this report reflects the latest reports from HDL and also Beacon Economics. Economic indicators reflect continued growth, lowering of unemployment rates. Fiscal year 22 will be known as the year of recovery. Most business sectors have recovered to pre-pandemic levels, and even travel and leisure, one of the sectors affected most by the pandemic, reflects return for most businesses. However, with the expanding economy, inflation remains the primary concern. It was a 40-year high at 7.9% in March, and now it's north of 8% as of April and May. Also, there's concerns of the global unrest that's occurring and ongoing in Ukraine. The resulting hardships on the U.S. economy are unknown at this time. The U.S. Treasury is already making adjustments for the Fed funds rate hikes. They began this in March with a quarter point or 25 basis point hike. This was followed in May 4th by a half point rate hike or 50 basis points. This represents the largest increase in over 22 years. Larger and additional rate hikes are planned for 22 and into 2023 as well. The bond market is also reflecting changes. Current conditions are indicative of a precursor for an economic slowdown. An inverse yield curve occurred in March. This is where the 10-year Treasury rates were less than the 2-year note rates. The market is reacting to concerns that the U.S. Treasury may be heating up too fast and the economy will be going into a recession. Stocks and bonds are in simultaneous correction as well. This is the first time this has occurred in more than 50 years. Both the stocks and bonds are adjusting at a negative 10% correction. Bonds typically are a negative correlation to stocks. However, this phenomenon or anomaly is now occurring. The economic update for housing as well reflects a large bubble. According to researchers, home prices are not in sync with underlying supporting economic data. However, the belief is when the market does adjust, will not be as dramatic as it was with the 2008 style crash. A couple reasons for this. Well, the primary reason is households are in much better position today. Current income to debt ratio is 3% currently, or 3.8% versus 7% as it was in 2008. As we now look at the 22, 23, and 23 budget, this is an overview. The new budget again reflects 2 fiscal years. The concept first was introduced with the fiscal 21-22 budget. We'll be adopting the 22-23 and using 23-24 as a planning tool. The projected revenues for 22-23 are $21.3 million, and for 23-24, $22.7 million. Revenues reflect expanding economy, largest increases seen in Measure Y local sales tax. However, we're anticipating an economic slowdown at the end of this calendar year 22 and into 23 as well. This chart represents the overview of the revenues. The first column is the adopted budget, 21-22. We had about $19.9 million for the adoption budget. 22-23 for all revenue sources, projecting $24.3 million, or 21.3, and for 23-24, about $22.7 million. Looking at some of the detail, the property tax, sales tax, and Measure Y local sales tax are all positive leaders with good growth. Property taxes are up by 6.9%, or about $316,000 from the prior year's budget. Sales and use taxes are up over 8%, about $263,000 from the fiscal 21-22 adopted budget. Local economy reflects return from prior pre-pandemic levels, of course. High inflation costs are cast an overshadow over these projections. And as I mentioned, the slowdown is anticipated for late 22 and into 23 2023 as well. However, budget adjustments have been made to HGL's estimates to reflect this slowdown. Local sales tax Measure Y reflects the biggest gain over the prior year budget at over 21% increase. However, some revenue categories are down. This is slower to recover from the pandemic, and primarily this is fines and forfeitures. On the expenditure side, new budget reflects increases in operational expenses. Salaries reflect the COLA adjustments from the recently negotiated 2-year MOUs. Some additional staffing is proposed to reflect support for expansion of city programs and services. An overview of the expenses. The first column is the 21-22 adopted budget, about $17.7 million. For 22-23, projecting $20.4 million, and 23-24, projecting about $19.3 million. The proposed staffing, as overview, we're proposing additional 2 general fund full-time positions to be added. The first one's a code enforcement officer. This will be a coverage for full 7 days of the week from the current schedule that's in place. Additional full-time position will be a recreation coordinator. This is to support classes and programs, additional classes and programs. In addition to that, there will be 1 economic development supervisor on a limited term basis. There was no general fund impact, and this will be funded from the ARPA fund. Part-time budget increase, additional dollars are being proposed to be allocated to part-time salaries for police aides, 2 police aides, for 2 public works maintenance workers, for 2 community service coordinators, and 1 recreation specialist. This chart represents an overview of the proposed staffing. The first column is the full-time salaries, or the 2 positions I mentioned, and the furthest to the right column is the part-time salaries, which would be a reflection of the increase in the part-time salaries for those respective departments. This is now going to be talking about the CIP, and I'll turn this over to Mr. Noda.
Good evening. The total proposed CIP project for this upcoming year is approximately $4.2 million. Includes some carryover from the prior fiscal year is at approximately $215,000. So listed there is the proposed projects that we discussed with the Budget Standing Committee. We're proposing a park project that's coinciding with the CDBG funding that we applied for and received, and that's for Stearns Park to make that an all-inclusive park. And then we're going to go in there and just the direction that we're going is we go in there and kind of just complete an entire park. We don't want to just go do in phases. We just want to go in there and complete the park. So that includes, ADA, landscaping, new play structure, and the whole deal on that. And then we're also proposing a street project, which is like a phase 2 street improvement project. Council is aware that we are starting to do phase 1 currently around the neighborhood. And so phase 2 street improvement will be approximately $1 million as well. And then we also improve some facility upgrades to our city, and that is, including the biggest expenditure there will be tackling this emergency generator project that we're dealing with, and so that's approximately $840,000. So that's the CIP list. So it is an up, a little bit higher than this current one. I think this current one's around 3.7, but. We do have a lot of work to do, but it is manageable. But it's more of the projects that we're doing are of large scale. Again, as you can see, the Stearns Park project is approximately $1 million. Phase 2 of the street project is another $1 million, and then just the generator alone is over $500,000. So we do have a higher cost in CIP, but in terms of the number of CIP projects, it's a little bit decreased.
Ron, if I can, just a couple of questions.
Yes,
right
sir.
Here. I appreciate you. Every year you seem to take on more and more. My question is, on Stearns Park, what's the funding breakdown between Measure Y, CDBG, and Prop 68 of the $1 million?
So Prop 68 is not associated with the Stearns Park. So CDBG is approximately $350,000.
Okay.
And then the rest of it will come from Measure Y, which is, if my math is correct, $650. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. And then during the budget meeting, we talked about, a proposal to do Laurel Park. Are we putting that on the back burner for now? Is that the idea?
Yes, sir. So the idea with Laurel Park is to actually try to see if we can find different funding sources outside of the city through grants that may allow us to actually complete the park in one fell swoop as opposed to breaking it into a series of projects. I think that it will take the park offline for a shorter period of time, and hopefully we'll be able to identify some of those funds outside of the city that we can use.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, this is Ron. May I make a comment on this when
Of course.
it's appropriate?
No, it's appropriate now. Go for it.
Okay. My comment is that, I really do appreciate all the good work that the Public Works staff is doing. I guess my concern is simply this, and I'll state it right up front, is we're taking a pretty big leap here in our capital improvements program. And I'm all for that. I think the money we're using, especially that's federal money and state and county money, is all very well thought through. My only concern is that I don't want to see us with a huge carryover for next year. So I'll follow through. I think I've made this comment before. I hope we have hired or will hire adequate staff to supervise these programs, keep them meeting, and make sure these contractors stay on tight deadlines in order to finish these projects within the next fiscal year. So that's my concern. I hope we'll focus on that as we award contracts against this capital improvements budget. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other questions? Craig, I just had a couple real quick before we get too far into it. I had one question on the revenues. Down at the bottom, the interfund transfers, why is there such a jump? Is that ARPA money? Or what is that? It goes from $375,000 in 21-22 to 1.2 million and then 1.9 million. I mean, it's going the right way, I just don't know what it is.
This is on the revenues.
The interfund
Mayor?
transfers? Yeah, down at the bottom.
So the increase for 23-24 is projecting the transfer of the balance of the funds in the ARPA into the general fund to cover for the loss in revenue.
Okay, so that's the 22-23 and then carry over 23-24?
Correct.
Okay, great, thank you.
Well,
And then a couple questions on the expense side. So on the finance, the increase, I'm assuming it's because for the finance director, finance manager, the new position?
it's the additional staff member for the finance manager. Yes.
Okay, and then the police, that's code enforcement, but that's also bringing us to full complement of our officers, correct? That's the increase on that? Cool. And then on the non-departmental, it's 1.8 million now. It goes to 2.4 million in 22-23 and then drops down to 595,000 in 23-24. Is that just us spending the ARPA money?
Well, that's that in addition to that we don't have an identified CIP projects for the non-departmental at this point for 23-24.
Okay, all right, so this is the best forecasting we can do right
Yes.
now.
And just a note on that, Mayor. So that number also will change, and Craig and I have been discussing is the idea that we might be coming back to actually talk to the City Council about some longer-term goals with regards to different items that we might want to start putting money away for so that we can save it over time. And this, again, gets to the comment that Councilmember Bates made about ensuring that we're actually on target and making sure that we're expending the funds and actually doing it within the timeline that we've set for ourselves. So I do see the opportunity before we get to the mid-year where we will be back to talk to you about what exactly CIP projects will look like in 23-24 and probably 24-25 as well.
Got it, okay, great, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, Greg, go ahead.
You want to talk about this?
So again, this is a more detailed breakdown of the proposed CIP list that we were proposing. As you can see here that, we have some tree trimming that we annually do every year. You can see some of the special project funds there that we're doing, which is the new Dutch Haven street improvement project that we're utilizing SB1 funding for. that was on tonight's council, and we're about to go out to RFP for that soon. We got, again, the Stearns Park project right there, and then approximately, it was like $800 and some thousand for a facility upgrades. Again, the bulk of that is a emergency generator project, but we have some stuff going on in the community center, and then, of course, some stuff going on in the PD as well. And then, of course, you can see the 1 million pavement management plan, the phase 2. So this is just a more detailed list of the proposed CIP project list.
Hey, Ron, the Brigham and Street widening, didn't that happen when the hotel was built? Wasn't that part of that deal?
That is correct, ma'am, but as part of their deal, they didn't go all the way down to Reagan Street. So they only went halfway, and then the city will have to finish the rest of it.
Gotcha, okay.
So again, if you can see the slide there, it's just a summary of where the CIP and where the different funding is coming from. Again, as you can see that we are using Measure Y, but a majority of it is coming from other funds as well. And that's as a staff, we try to go out there and utilize as many grants or state funding or federal funding as much as possible to accomplish our CIP list.
And I do want to add that the Measure Y money, staff has been doing a phenomenal job about making sure that that stays within scope of what we promised the residents when we asked to raise their taxes. This is going towards streets, it's going towards parks, quality of life thing. So I'm extremely comfortable spending this money and telling anybody that we are spending it on exactly what we said we would spend it on. So, and we're getting a lot of stuff done throughout the city, touching a number of demographics and residents and businesses and things. So I'm great job on everything on this.
Madam Mayor, just as an appropriate note here too, I think staff is well aware of this, but where it applies, of course, all the projects that are funded by Measure Y should be appropriately noted with signs and that, so the residents understand where a good portion of their money is being spent.
Agreed, absolutely.
I have a question.
Yes.
And I will say that I do see the little lighted sign saying your dollars at work as you get ready to do the street improvements. So I see something that says building improvement, and I might be way off, but it makes me think of the building that we're in. And I'm just wondering, as I drove to the gala at the yacht club, which frankly, I'm sorry, the inside of it, it wasn't that fresh. It was just on the water. Are we ever going to be able to host events for LaSalle in LaSalle?
So one of the things that actually is in the budget for this year is a study of all the city facilities that we have and what exactly the long-term costs in order to put them into what I think you're alluding to, a place that we could actually host events at. So once that is done and we're able to actually take stock of what that final number is, I'll be presenting that to the city council so that we can start putting money away in order to achieve that if that's the council's goal.
Can you also factor in how much money different fundraising entities pay?
Yes.
Because every school does it. And we got what Emily, is like 50 million nonprofits in Los Alamitos that all hold a gala of some sort or another. I think that should be part of it, because if you can, I know you got to spend some money, but I know how much Rossmore paid for their fundraiser, and we had to go to the Navy golf course.
Again, anything that's going to help us with cost recovery is definitely going to be part of that study.
Okay.
For sure.
All right, any other questions? Okay, I'm sorry we keep interrupting you, but go ahead.
So we have some pictures. This is a rendering, a bird's eye view of the Stearns Park project.
Wow.
Again, we're going to go in there and totally revamp the project. Irrigation, landscaping, we're going to fix the ADA issues that we have. Because all our parks were constructed very, very long ago, we run into a lot of, NPDS issues, which is like stormwater, WQMP issues, and ADA issues. So we're going to go in there and clear all that. Again, this is an overview of it. It'll be a great neighborhood park. Again, if you don't know where Stearns Park is, it's on the corner of, I believe it's Maple and Farquhar. So again, the play structure will be all inclusive. You'll have some picnic area, some exercise equipment is over there on that right side of the picture, so you could come by and do some outdoor exercise. and we'll do the proper landscaping and all that stuff. But again, it's a overview view of schematics of what Stern Parks might eventually look like.
There's that much space?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Crazy.
It's going to be great.
Yep.
So excited.
Oh, wow. It looks so tiny.
I think the next one is a map. Yes, this is a phase 2, the street improvement project. This is just some recommendation of streets that we're thinking of going out there and doing. Please be aware that this is a draft. We have not fully assessed any of the streets yet. You have to go out there and do a full assessment of the streets. And of course, we're going to try to go out there and get council feedback and the residents' feedback as well. But as you can see, we're going to hit a lot of the different neighborhoods around the city. Again, the goal that I have whenever we do a project is we do something and then we finish a neighborhood and then we move on, right? And so like one of the things that you approved tonight was a striping and pavement marking plan. And so we're going to go into the Old Dutch neighborhood and we're just going to completely finish out the whole striping. Same with the Old Town West, and then that whole neighborhood, that whole section of the city will be completely striped. So this is the concept here too. Again, it's draft form, but phase 1 will incorporate some of the fixing of or the maintenance of the street over in the Parkwood neighborhood, which is all the way out there on Lamson, on the bottom corner of that map you see there. And so phase 2 will go in there and we'll completely finish out that entire neighborhood. So we can just move on and say, theoretically, I don't have to look at that street for at least 5 years, type stuff. And then we'll move on to the next city neighborhood, and again, SB1, we're going to go out there and do the New Dutch Haven one and completely do that track, because phase 1 has portions of that street. Phase 2 will complete that neighborhood as well. But again, I just want to add that this is a draft and we haven't done our full assessment yet on the streets.
And thank you for adding Bennington. They're so happy. They want to do a parade on the newly paved street when it's done.
Okay.
So back to me again. The city has a total of 22 funds. This is other funds review. 12 of those funds are special revenue funds. We have 1 debt service fund, 4 capital project funds, 5 internal service funds. Note here is that sufficient funding is available to cover the proposed expenditures and transfers for all the funds. This next slide is a representation of the ending balance. The first column would be projected ending balance for 22-23, revenues and expenses for the next 2 columns, where we would end up proposed for 23-24, and then for the second fiscal year, including all the funding. On a long-term model review, the assumptions here, the revenue projections include conservative growth. Allowances have been made for economic slowdown. The fiscal 21-22 surplus is due to better than anticipated revenues, primarily from property tax, sales and use tax, and Measure Y. There were some salary savings due to vacancies in the police department as well. Year 2 through year 5, the fiscal 23-24 through fiscal 26-27 assumes $1 million CIP per fiscal year. The year 2 fiscal 23-24 surplus delta is due to the balance of ARPA funds transfers to the general fund to cover revenue loss. And the estimated surpluses that are shown are before any additional program cost or UAL reduction. And here is the review of those 5 years. So the first projection is the fiscal year 21-22 at $2.6 million. Forecast for 22-23 is about $981,000. Forecast for 23-24 about $3.3 million, and the forecast for the balance of the 5 years is approximately $2 million surplus per fiscal year. The summary for the budget 22-23 is as follows. The projected revenues are $21.3 million. Projected expenditures $20.4 million. Draft CIP as we reviewed is $4.2 million. For 23-24, the projected revenues are $22.7 million. Projected expenditures $19.3 million. Estimated CIP $1 million. Budget has been prepared using conservative approach, and adjustments to revenue estimates are anticipating the economic slowdown at the beginning of the end of calendar year 2022. Wanted to mention the next steps before we go seek questions. Tonight's presentation represents council's first look at the preliminary budget for 22-23 and 23-24. Tonight's goals are to receive feedback and direction from council. We'll return at the June 13th meeting with changes as recommended. At that meeting, we'll also receive a line item detail for all the departments. There'll be presentations from each department reviewing the programs and the goals, and then we'll be recommending adoption at the June 13th meeting. So with that, I look forward to your questions.
Before the questions, I would just like to point out one thing. So Craig and I have a good time joking with each other that we've never had a normal year while putting together the budget, going through the pandemic, and then obviously now the turmoil in the Ukraine and how exactly that's influencing what exactly budget numbers will look like. We have taken a fairly conservative approach to the projections that we've built into this budget. We do believe that they are all hittable and achievable. We do believe that the expenditures that we have laid out, that we will be able to accomplish them on schedule. But again, I just wanted to thank Craig for the amount of work that goes into trying to produce budget projections with less than ideal information.
I had a quick question just on process, because this is the first time we've actually done a 2-year budget cycle. How is that going to work? Tonight's our preliminary one. When we go to vote on the budget in a couple of weeks, we'll be voting on 22-23 and 23-24?
It's really to adopt the 22-23 year, and then we'll use the next year as a planning tool. So it's really, you're laying a foundation as to where exactly we will be going with the budget. However, we will come back and have you appropriate those funds every single year.
Okay, so that process will be the same, but this is more of a detailed forecasting for the next year as soon as we...
Exactly. And the baseline for wanting to do this with council's blessing is the idea that we start taking a long-term approach to some of the projects that we have out there. And while we will always show projections that run out 15, 20 years, I think that a 5-year snapshot is a workable forecast to actually be able to hold us accountable to in terms of what exactly we think the expenditures are going to look like, but also the target of what the different projects might be that we can put out each one of those years. So by extending out the number of years that we actually do in terms of planning each year, we hopefully can get to a place where we can actually say that we know that there's going to be a large-scale project in, let's say, 26, 27, that we might need to start putting money away for in order to accomplish.
Okay, got it. Okay. Any questions?
I guess, yeah, just a quick question. How do we pick the number on CIP of 1 million for the future 5 years? I know this year we're looking at, or this next year, 4.2 million. We're estimating 1 million for those future years, which seems pretty unlikely. I think we're probably going to do a lot more than 1 million. But it seems like our projected revenues versus projected expenditures, we're not going to have a ton of money there. So I guess, how do we end up with the 1 million? Just a really round number? Or?
It started from a planning standpoint. We started with just it's a nice round number to actually work off of, but also having gone through at least 1 year of operations now, we can kind of judge what exactly kind of from a dollar amount / project amount, how much we're able to handle with the amount of staff that we have. And so it became a number of just, this actually is an achievable number for us to actually be able to do. And so as we start adding additional projects, we may have to adjust either staffing levels or contract levels in order to accomplish it. But at the moment, $1 million was one that we could put forward and achieve with what we have staff-wise.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Ron,
Madam Mayor,
yes, I was just going to ask you, do you have any comments?
Yes. An additional just comment, and that is generally, I'm glad that staff is taking a fairly conservative approach to the budget, because I think there's a reasonably good probability that toward the end of this year and next year, not only may we have an economic slowdown, but there's I'd say a pretty good possibility that we may end up in some kind of a recession. And I would also add that I think, I don't know, maybe Craig knows how many years this goes back, can't remember in probably the last 20 years or better when we've ever seen both the bond market and the stock market go down over 10% at the same time. So some of these economic indicators that are coming forth aren't really very, how should I say, understandable and predictable. So again, I think the fact that we're being fairly conservative is a good approach to this budget with so many unknowns in the future. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other, what kind of direction do you need from us other than go for it?
This is a receive and file item, and we will bring back the entire budget presentation for you at the June 13th meeting.
Okay, terrific.
With potential discussion about pension funding, unfunded accrued liabilities.
We will be able to do a presentation about some of the information that we have gathered to date and some of the options that we have, and then we'll be returning those also to the Budget Standing Committee to do a little bit more in depth, or I'll call it a deeper dive as to what some of the options are and some of the things that we can do immediately that might improve our overall unfunded liability picture.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Okay, with that, now I'm recessing the special meeting. Thank you, Wendy. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and recess the special meeting, and then I'm going to call to order the regular meeting of the May 16th City Council meeting.
Rob, we're going to disconnect you now. We'll call you back for closed session.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks. Bye.
And we need to do roll call, correct? Okay. So, roll call, please.
Roll call, Mayor Hasselbrink,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Doby,
Here.
Councilmember Bates, absent, Councilmember Turco,
Here?
Councilmember Nafolda.
Here.
Do I need to open it up for general public comment or wait until the,
You can still open for public comment. We'll just announce that we've addressed all the other items.
okay. So I will open up for public comment. At this time, any individual in the audience may come forward to speak on any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Remarks are to be limited to not more than 5 minutes per speaker. Any speakers? No? Okay, so on the consent calendar, we are looking at item 11E. Chirko, this is all yours. Permitting the keeping of female chickens in residential zones.
Mayor, if I could, it was item 10E.
I'm sorry, you're right, 10E. Boy.
I've got nothing to say on this one.
You very excited about it?
Some residents are, and therefore I am excited.
Okay. If there's no discussion, do you need?
If we could have a motion
Okay.
to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve item 10E, adopting ordinance 2022-02.
All right, I'll second it. And do you need to read it?
No, when we introduced the ordinance, we waived
Okay,
further
perfect.
reading, so
Thank
you
you.
can just vote.
All right, roll call vote, please.
You can do all in favor for this one.
Oh, that's right. Man, you are messing me up tonight. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Now we are moving on to item 11, the public hearing. Item 11A has been pulled by staff for discussion at a future date, which brings us to item.
Madam Mayor?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so
If we, for item 11A, and it's the comprehensive update of the city housing element for the reporting period of 21 through 29. We will open the public hearing to continue it to June 13th.
Okay, thank you. Do I need to have public comment here now, too?
No.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll go on to 11B.
Yeah.
The fiscal year 22, 23.
I apologize. Can we take a motion and a vote to continue 11A to
Okay,
the next regular meeting, please?
all right, can I get a motion to continue?
I'll move to continue item 11A to a future date,
It's
June
the June
13th.
13th.
June 13th meeting. All right, to the June 13th meeting. We'll get the hang of this in a few years.
That's why you should just second, because all you got to say is second.
It's only been 7 years now, I haven't figured this out yet. Was that a
That was
second?
my second.
Okay, there you go. All right, All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Can I go on to 11B now?
Yes.
Thank you. 11B, the fiscal year 22-23 master fee schedule. Is that Craig?
It is, Madam Mayor, but this is us actually returning an item from that the council had seen previously in order to reduce the overall increase from 7.5% to 5% as recommended by the city council at our last council meeting.
Okay. And at this time, it being a public hearing, I'm opening up for public comment on this item. Bunch of shy people out there. All right. Any discussion, comments from here? All right. I'm going to motion this one. Can get a
I will second that.
Come on, people. Sale for last for a second, geesh. All right. Roll call or regular?
All in favor?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Where's my script? We cannot do these word meetings like this. Okay, so now we are going to go to closed session.
We're going to adjourn to June 13th, 2022 at 2022 at 6 p.m.
Okay. And now we're going to reconvene the special meeting.
Yes.
We don't have to take another roll call vote, do we? Or roll call, do we?
No.
Thank you. We're going to reconvene the special meeting for closed session. I'll have our city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. The city council will now adjourn into closed session to discuss items 13A and B as listed on this evening's special meeting agenda.
Great, thank you. Whoa, that was not a fail.
That's why I stick to seconds, man.
Reconvene from closed session with no reportable action taken.
And we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
I wasn't trying to be rude with you. I was joking with you about that.